We're at the Dakota Dunes Casino. It's about 20 minutes south of Saskatoon. I'm here with Chief Darcy with Whitecap Dakota. This is a complex that is part of a whole development process going on your reserve. Started a bunch of years ago. Your 20th anniversary is Chief coming up. How did you move the reserve from one that was running a deficit when you started to one that's opening casinos and opening one of the top golf courses in Canada?
Well, I think from a First Nations perspective, you look at the Indian Act, a piece of legislation that was never created for us to be a part of the economy. It's created to keep us out of sight, out of mind, while everybody else had the opportunity to develop their economies around us, develop their infrastructure and their jobs. And we've always said we want to be a part of the economy. And so about the early 2000s, there's a new piece of legislation called the First Nation Land Management Act. And this legislation enabled First Nations that wanted to move forward and create their own land codes and have it ratified by their people to self-govern their lands. And in doing so, it created a land tenure system, because that's very important. If you look off reserve, how does economic development work? You have to have real estate. And that being said, we can't sell our land, but it's long-term commercial leasehold interest. And this type of land tenure system has been practiced in the UK for centuries. And so you look right now, and even in the city of Saskatoon, the University of Saskatchewan can't sell its land. Any land that's endowed to it, they have to hold title to it, but they can issue long-term commercial leasehold interests, like the Preston Crossing big box stores they have on the university lands. So that's kind of the model that we've created here in Whitecap. So we've gone through the process of having a land use plan, zoning. So you're standing right now in the resort commercial district. Across the road is our industrial park area, and then of course we got residential, agriculture, resource conservation areas, places we want to keep natural. But it's very important to have land tenure, so then we can go to the banks, individuals or corporations go to the banks and they can get financing. So for instance, this property we're standing on, they've signed a long-term leasehold interest, commercial leasehold interest with Whitecap. And SIGA, Saskatchewan Indian Gaming Authority, is the operator. And it's a partnership with all in Saskatchewan, because the profits are split up this way. There's 74 First Nations, 50% goes to a trust that's split up amongst all 74. Another 25% goes back to the provincial government, and another 25% stays with local charities. So it's a win-win for everyone. And there's about 540 jobs that actually came with this project as well. But without having land tenure, without having infrastructure, that's the other thing I didn't mention. But the other key to this is having infrastructure, like having water and sewer systems and three-phase power, natural gas capacity, fiber,
the roads to get people out from downtown.
The roads to get people from downtown. And that was another partnership we created. We worked with the city of Saskatoon and the arm of Corman Park, the arm of Dundurn, the arm of Rudy and Rosedale, and town of Outlook and the town of Dundurn and Whitecap collectively. And we weren't building a highway to a casino. We were building a tourism corridor that goes from Saskatoon all the way out to Lake Diefenbaker. And so our partners came forward and they wanted to rename that tourism corridor. They wanted to actually call it Chief Whitecap Trail. So certainly we didn't say no to that. We said absolutely. So it was the first time in the province's history that a highway was named after a chief. And we actually, out of the 5 phases that have been built so far, about 47 million worth, we managed 3 of those 5 phases for the provincial government. So again, building capacity here within our own community. So again, it's in order for us to have business here, we need to have the land tenure, need to have infrastructure. Now we have that. We've opened our doors for business. We've gone from a 70% unemployment rate to a 4.1% unemployment rate. And we always say here is no better role model than the children seeing mom and dad go to work every day. And it's also breaking that cycle of dependency that was created by the Indian Act. And because we were never lazy people. If you look at our ancestors prior to European contact, they were always hardworking people. So we also have to remind our youth that in order to truly honor our ancestors, they have to be hardworking like they were. And that means getting a job or getting an education and seeking employment. That's where we want our youth to be, and that's what's happening now in our community.
All right. Now, just behind the casino is a golf course that's rated one of the best in Canada. Give me the quick version of the story on how that came about. You opened in 2005, about 6 years worth of planning, and it replaced another idea of plowing over the dunes, plowing over the natural beauty that was here, and you guys said, no, let's go a different way.
Yeah, originally the community back when I was in high school was looking at building a 36-hole golf course, two 18s, and a big clubhouse, and they're looking at flattening out the dunes. And then when I was elected in 91 and became chief in 94, and we first had to address some other issues we had in the community, which is such as the deficit, and then also our own infrastructure, such as a new school and health center, those types of things. And eventually we started focus on economic development in 1999. And at the time, there was a fellow by the name of Wayne Carlton with Graham Cook. Cook Carlton is the name of the architectural firm for golf courses. He was in the city, so I asked to have a coffee with him. I brought him out to the site, And I always thought that, the site was, let's take advantage of the rolling terrain. And he had the same thought as well. So the same vision. We walked around. He was blown away at the site. We ended up creating the conceptual design. But then we had to raise the capital to move forward. And being a small First Nation and lacking a capital, we had to seek partners. So the partners we brought to the table had experience in economic development, and they were also First Nations as well. So the Muskeg Lake First Nation, they have the urban reserve in Saskatoon, have about 500 employees. The Lac La Ronge Indian Band has Kitsaki Developments. They do over $100 million of business, and they understand business. So they come into the boardroom. We all understand that this is a new company. We're not going to see a dividend year one. We're going to grow this company next 3 to 5 years. Our original pro forma income statements, we had a small loss year one, break even year two, and then profit in year three. Well, we ended up being profitable since day one, and we ended up paying off our debt in 6 years. So finally now you're going to see under construction is our permanent clubhouse, because when we originally built it, we built it with a temporary clubhouse. Now the permanent clubhouse is going up. So it's been and it's ranked Golf Digest as kind of like the golf Bible of the world. And they ranked our golf course number 15 in Canada, and of course number 1 in Saskatchewan here.
All right. Well, fantastic story. Stick around. We are not done yet. More to come with Chief Darcy Bear. Well, the support of the people requires accountability, and Chief Darcy Bear is celebrating 20 years here at Whitecap Dakota First Nation. When you came in, as I said earlier, you came in, there was a deficit situation going on. There wasn't the development going on. How did you build that trust and say, not only can I turn around a deficit situation, but get to development? I understand accountability was a big part of your plan.
Yeah, so when I was first elected, we had actually no money in the bank at all. We were actually in an overdraft situation. There was no policies, no governance structure. And so we said, well, we need to move forward. We need to ascertain, first of all, the size of our debt. How big is this debt? And then, of course, create a financial management plan to go forward to get out of that deficit situation. So we put together a plan, a 3-year plan to get out of the deficit. We ended up doing it in 2 years. And then from there, it was about hiring as well a professional accountant as well to come on board, work with us, so that way we can always have good information in front of us when we're making decisions. And then the focus from there, once we started moving forward, once our financial house was in order, we started looking at, okay, what are the areas we need to address inside our community? And certainly infrastructure was one of them. Growing up in my community here, I was raised by my grandparents, and we never had modern infrastructure, such as water and sewer systems, etc. We still had to heat our homes with wood, and we had to haul water from wells. And as we went forward, we said we need to have modern infrastructure, and we ended up building a brand new school in 1996. With that came a new water treatment plant and sewage systems. And then once that was done, we started focusing on economic development and saying we need to open our doors for economic activity. Our people want jobs just like anybody else. And we've taken at one time we had 70% unemployment rate. We're down to 4.1%. So end of the day, it's about working together as a community. We have at least about 4 community meetings annually, and in about getting, I guess, any issue that we want to move forward, we communicate that with our membership and make sure they're on board. I'll give you an example, whether it be the real property tax. So we do have a real property tax here in Whitecap, but again, we needed to have a real property tax if we want to attract business here, because the businesses also, we're providing infrastructure to them. They need to pay a real property tax back to our government so we can provide those services and also pay for that infrastructure. So our members said, yes, let's move that forward. So we got the mandate, we moved that forward. And we've also done something as well. We use the province Saskatchewan Assessment Management Agency to all of our assessments. That way there's redress there. If somebody doesn't like the assessment, they don't have to take it up with chief and council. You take it up with that third party. And
so both for the businesses you're bringing in and for residents, it's a lot like dealing with, business in Saskatoon.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Setting up our business environment as well, so it's similar, so it's seamless, right? And then we apply our mill rate and give the tax notices. That's how we do our real property tax here in the community. But those types of tools are very important, right? To build a community, and keeping the community members on side, and so they know what's happening, and they're the ones that drive the mandate. We provide the information, and they say, okay, I'll go for it.
For other, whether it's other First Nations leadership across the country or other municipal leaders trying to figure out what to do with their rusting out cities or what have you, what advice do you give them? We got less than a minute. Do you have quick advice that you could say worked here that other people might be able to learn from?
Well, I think again, it's tough to say, because the things we're doing here, a lot of times it's a first in Saskatchewan. I'll give you an example. Even the Building Canada Fund right now, we're off reserve. Cities, towns, and rural municipalities can go for infrastructure funding, and a third comes in. The province puts in a third, the feds put in a third, local jurisdiction puts in a third. But those types of programs weren't open to First Nations, and so I've been working with lobbying the Premier, and the Premier certainly understands it, and he understands Whitecap's a regional employer. Now we have over 500 people that commute from Saskatoon Saskatoon daily to come here to work. And so he supported me, and he went forward and met with the Prime Minister, and they had a discussion. I also lobbied with Minister Valcourt, who talked to his colleague, Minister LaBelle. And finally, this fiscal year, it's the first time that the Building Canada Fund is open to First Nations when it comes to infrastructure. For those First Nations that are commercially ready to open their doors for commercial activity, that's what this is about. And so, because we also need infrastructure to go with land tenure structures, right? Land tenure systems.
All right, so bringing in a system that everybody understands and that works for all.
Absolutely.
All right, Chief Bear, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Stick around. We are not done yet. You're on Byline.